Well. How is everybody doing today? I'm hoping I'm coming across okay audio-wise. Everybody looking for people from England. Wow, ED, you're here from England. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for everybody here. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Glad you guys can tune in for the live stream. And we're going to go over some of the things that happened in the University of Idaho murder. So for those who don't know or had just stumbled upon this channel, they're like, I don't really know what this is, and I've never heard about the murders that happened in the University of Idaho. So we have 4 college students that were brutally murdered in the middle of the night in Moscow, Idaho, by a suspect who fled the scene in the middle of the night. There was a big manhunt that came out. People were looking for the suspect or suspects. Police started to develop some probable cause, some leads, and then they talked about a Elantra that they were looking for. So they put out a description of Elantra. Police started to look at surveillance photos. The police in WSU, Washington State University, started looking around, found a car. They developed some information, which led to an affidavit for an arrest warrant that was served on Bryan Kohberger in Pennsylvania. So he was into custody. He lived in Washington State. Then the officers wrote a search warrant for the residence in Pullman, Washington. All right. So that's your brought up. They have a suspect in the murders that has been arrested, not charged, innocent until proven guilty, but he has been charged with the murders. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what happened with the arrest warrant and the return to service. So basically what happens, Milwaukee, Oregon. Hey, I'm from Wilsonville, Oregon originally, so welcome. So here's what happened is that they wrote the search warrant for the residence. They executed the search warrant and then the return of service. And what happens with the search warrant is you give an affidavit to a judge. You say, Judge, I want to search this residence. Here's all of my probable cause for this search. So the judge either issues a warrant or not. And in this case, they issued a warrant. They went in to the residence and executed that search warrant. So what happens when you do that is when we as law enforcement go in, whether there's people there or not, if there's people there, we read the search warrant and then we leave a copy with them as well. All right. If there's nobody there, we just leave a copy of the search warrant there. We go about our business. When we leave or when the investigators leave, they lock the door, and that's the end of that. In this case, the return of the warrant return was sealed so that it was not public record because it was deemed to be a safety issue for law enforcement, for witnesses, for anybody else like that. All right. Well, yesterday, I guess probably late on the 17th, yesterday it kind of came out. I was out of town, but hey, Jeffrey True, how are you? They released the warrant to the public early. All right. So I'm going to go over this warrant a little bit. I'm going to break it down, kind of how it went down, and then what they found. And we're going to talk about what they found and what that means for the case. All right, everybody ready? All right, let's get to it. Here we go. All right. Here is the warrant here. Welcome, Calgary. Motion in order to unseal the warrant. So we talked about it. It was sealed. Here's the motion. This was dated January 17th. Okay. So motion to warrant return the 17th. And basically, this was a 49-page release. I got it down for you guys to about, 13 pages or something like that. I just took a bunch of stuff out. So if you want to watch a video that I did before, you're going to go up here and you're going to click on this card, and I'll talk about the actual affidavit, because the affidavit is pretty much repeated in the warrant part of it. Okay, here we go. So the warrant's issued to Washington State, and since then, an extensive probable cause affidavit has been unsealed in Latah County, Idaho, which alleviated the need for sealing the return to service here in Washington. So because Idaho unsealed it, then Washington went, well, pretty much everything in the affidavit that was released was in this search warrant, so we're not really hiding anything or disclosing anything that already has not been disclosed. All right? So this was the order and the motion. Now, this was through the Dennis Tracy, who's a Whitman County prosecuting attorney. She or he, or the Dennis, is the one that applied for this. Motion in order for original search warrant application to remain sealed, but a redacted version to be provided for public release. All right. So they went ahead, and because of severe and detrimental impact to the crime victims, and that is what they said was the motion to do a redacted version, just because they didn't want all of the personal information out of there in good form, right? There was 2 survivors, and they just don't want that information out there. So that was filed, and it was redacted on January 17th. That motion was granted. All right. So let's talk about the warrant part of this, okay? Let's see. Well, I got to give a shout out to this young man here. This is my son. So everybody say hi to Brandon. Welcome to the live stream, son. All right. Now he's in Arizona, doing great. All right. So here we go. The search warrant for the residence. Upon a sworn complaint made to me, there is probable cause to believe that the crimes of murder in the first degree and burglary per Idaho code has been committed in Idaho, that evidence of those crimes or contraband or fruits of those crimes or the things otherwise criminally possessed or weapons, so on and so forth, could be reasonably appear to be committed and concealed upon the premises. In making this determination, this court did not consider the information in the supplemental disclosure regarding DNA tests, and we're going to talk about that as evidence supporting the existence of probable cause. This court also does not consider the information in that supplemental disclosure to be exculpatory, which basically means in favor of the defendant. Okay. So warrant's issued, judge signs off on it, and the judge basically says you can do this warrant within 10 days of this date at the premise described below, the apartment located at 1630 G201 Pullman, Washington. Okay, grants the warrant. Now they have the warrant in hand. They have 10 days. Okay, this isn't an open-ended warrant. Law enforcement has 10 days to go do this. All right, so let's keep going. They describe the apartment, so on and so forth. And as part of that warrant process application, they're searching for evidence of the crimes and then weapons to be used in those crimes. Okay, so that is what that means. All right, so hang on a second here. All right, we're going to keep going here. So this is the police officer in Washington State University. He basically says he's a police officer, and this is now WSU, because what happened was the officers in Moscow, Idaho, based on their investigation and all of the evidence that they gathered, they don't have jurisdiction in Washington. So they have to give all their probable cause to an official in Pullman, or in this case, Washington State University Police, because they don't have jurisdiction over there. So all that probable cause, the report, the affidavit, everything goes over to Washington. And then the police officer here says, I'm with WSU, I've been so employed, and she tells the person who she is, that she attends the university, and gives a little bit of her background. Then she says that the Moscow, Idaho police officer, Dustin Baker, goes and gives she identifies Sergeant Baker in the Moscow, Idaho, as the one giving her the information and the sworn statements. Okay. So the investigation, she says, I agree with Sergeant Baker's statement that there is probable cause to believe that Kohberger committed the murders and burglary, and that there's probable cause to believe that evidence of those crimes will be located at Kohberger's apartment at the address. I am seeking the search warrant for that apartment. So we're clear. Idaho develops all the probable cause. Where does he live? He lives in Washington. Hey, Washington, here's all the probable cause. We want you guys to go do a search warrant into his apartment. She applies to her jurisdiction, Whitman County, and that's how that process works. All right. So based on the following, they want to go search for the following. Blood, bodily fluid, right? You can obviously imagine the scene of the homicide. There was a lot of blood. So they're looking for tissue, cells, skin, blood, bodily fluids, anything that has to do with serology in this apartment. Knives. Obviously, there was a knife that was involved in this. So they want to look for the weapon. They have a sheath, but they're looking for other sheaths that are there. Any other tools, daggers, swords, anything like that. Sales receipt where he bought it. They're looking for all of that. Okay. And also they are looking for any images, digital images, obviously, that are of the house of 1122 King Road and the surrounding neighborhood. Surveillance photos. We talked about in a video that I talked about here about how the route that he took the night before, or 6 months leading up to, and then the day of the murders on the route that he took. All right. Clothing. The clothing he may have been wearing. Dark shirts, dark pants. Remember, we had a witness that was there that said the suspect was wearing dark clothes, right? So they're looking for any kind of dark clothes that may resemble that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Gerardo Catani, Super Chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. All right. So clothing, back to the clothing, right? And we're going to get into what they found in the residence on the return of service that I will come back to on this. But they're looking for the shirts, the shoes, and obviously, remember, we had the latent shoe print that was left outside of one of the doors, or in the hallway that leads to the outside, that they got with the Mito Black. Right, they identified a shoe print with some diamond pattern. So what are they looking for? They're looking for that shoe, right? Now, we're going to get into what they found, but this is what they're looking for, obviously. So let's keep going. Trace evidence. Obviously, we're looking for DNA, blood, skin cells, any kind of fingerprints, hair that may be from the victims, dog hair that may be from the dog, any kind of hair that is in this residence they want to find. Let's keep going. Data compilations, digital evidence, the plan. Did he plan this? Did he look up anything on Google that interested him in stabbing or killing, or he pulled up the address of the house, 1122. Did he do a maps route to get there? All of those digital clues they want to look for, right? Wi-Fi logs. When is he kicking onto his Wi-Fi? You come in your house and you're automatically on your Wi-Fi. When do those records kick in, and when do they don't kick in? Obviously, computers, laptops, tablets, those kind of things they want to look for. Ledgers, papers, lists, email, text messages, social media posts, etc. The posts that either came from a computer, a laptop, any kind of mobile device that they have, they're going to look for that as well. That's in this warrant, because you remember, this is WSU. They don't have all of the information that Moscow has, that the FBI has, Idaho State Police has, that the crime lab has. They have what the sergeant told the officer in Washington State. So that probable cause. So they have, 10% of all the information. So this is what they want to look for. Obviously, CDs, thumb drives, data storage units, anything that you can put photos on or hide, or any kind of data, they want that as well. Oh, thank you so much, Donna Ayers. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate it. Vibes around, surrounded with little purple stars. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. There we keep going. Any other messaging apps? Now, this could be, they want email addresses that he may have. We know he was on Reddit. We know he was on some different platforms. What email addresses is he using to sign up for those sites? WhatsApp, what messaging services is he using outside of that? So they're looking for those kind of clues and receipts or downloads or anything that has to do with that. Photographs, images, documents, obviously, we're going to look for that have been moved or deleted. So they're trying to look for that in some type of manipulation that he may have done. Evidence, use of video, conducting internet searches, and how to avoid detection for such crimes, right? We know he allegedly made a post on Reddit with a survey about getting away with crime and how does it feel to commit crime and so on and so forth during his time in school. So where did he search for that, and what kind of stuff did he do after that? Donna, thank you so much. All right. So they're continuing to look for that. So they got their hands full, right? I think they were there 12 hours in there. Why wasn't the FBI involved in the search? Well, they don't really need to be involved, Derek. So, it's Washington's jurisdiction. The FBI has their role in certain things, and if they're not asked about it, then they won't have to do it. Yes, Stardust, it is very, very creepy, right? So FBI is there if you need them, but they will never take over. So it's an apartment. It's not that big. And if they think they can actually search it for those kind of evidence, Derek, then that's what they'll do. All right. So any information that can be used to calculate the position of that, GPS devices, GPS coordinates, they're looking for that. Any identity of a person or possession of a device of evidentiary value. So they're starting to broaden it out and basically saying anything that has to do with anything we want, right? And you can start to do that. IP logs, documents, passwords. So does he have a 1Password or something on a phone? Those kind of internet things that have all those passwords. Like hopefully everybody has something like a 1Password that they keep all their stuff in this nice and secure. So thank you for that. I appreciate that music. All right, codes, fingerprints, patterns, anything that operates those devices, right? All of that is they're looking for. Rental agreements to put him as owner of the apartment, that they executed the warrant on the right apartment, and then they can go from there. What if they saw more than what was in the search warrant? Can they just take it too? A lot of these search warrants, Christopher, there's a lot of boilerplates. I mean, when I was doing search warrants, you could just build a boilerplate so you wouldn't forget anything from the future. So you could say any and all documents relating to this, any and all electronic devices relating to this. So if they found an electronic device that wasn't in there, it was usually covered in that warrant affidavit. So it's usually pretty good. If they really find something that wasn't identified in the warrant and it wasn't listed out, which sometimes could happen. They would just go they would stay there, have somebody write an addendum to the warrant, go back to the judge, drive right to the chambers, right to his house. We used to drive their house in the middle of the night and say, hey, we think this may be, we didn't include it in the warrant. Can we do an addendum to the warrant? And he or she will sign the warrant and the addendum. They can go back and seize it. All right. So, all right. So let's keep going. In assistance from law enforcement. We don't need to read that. Okay, and here it is. It's signed Superior Court Judge, and it was signed on the 29th at 9:05 p.m. You bet, Christopher. No problem, man. All right, so Judge, they execute, or they start to go in and they search for all this stuff. So here's what I wanted to come back to, and I talked about this before. This was in the affidavit for search warrant. Let me get to this question from Aaron first. Aaron? They're going, let me see. I don't know why this is really shrinking up here. They're going to have to find very specifically related internet searches, though. Anything searching killers or killer mindset can be argued away potentially since he's a criminal justice student. Yeah, I agree, Aaron. I agree. They're going to have to, they're going to have to be, but not how to kill somebody. That's not going to be really good for a paper that you're going to write. So hopefully they'll weed out those kind of searches, right? And especially if anything has to do with that house, then that's not part of your term paper. So I would say they would narrow that down a little bit. All right, so back to this warrant part. I'm also asking for authorizations of assistance from a technical specialist to review any digital devices and digital media to the best and least intrusive methods of securing evidence that the warrant authorizes for seizure and to assist in securing such evidence. So this is where they can go into the FBI and ask them for assistance with looking at the evidence, all right? This is where they cover themselves to ask for help. Let's go to Kate. Kate, what do you say? Are these things that he would have learned about in his studies, the digital footprint? How could he think he would outsmart? Well, Kate, we don't know. He obviously, he left some clues behind. There's, that's what happens when every time you go into a crime scene or leave a crime scene, you're either leaving or picking up something. That is, there is a law about that in physics. Hi, Mrs. Hatfield. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so here we go. Now, the supplemental, I wanted to talk to you guys about this supplemental part of the warrant. All right. Supplemental disclosure regarding DNA. I've been informed by Detective J.R. Talbot of the Idaho State Police that on November 13th, a sheath was recovered at the King Road residence next to the body of Madison Mogan. The Idaho Crime Lab obtained a male DNA profile, suspect profile, from the sheath. This is also referred to in a statement. They also received some trash from the father's residence. Remember that. Yes, Kimber's prayer for Moscow for sure. They also received that as well from the trash. So remember, investigators went there. The guy deposited trash, Kohberger's father. They seized the trash and they ran it for DNA analysis, and that it was a profile that was not being excluded as a biological father. That 99.9998% of male population would be expected to be excluded. So they have dad's DNA now, all right? They did that in Idaho. So here's the kicker. But I am specifically asking the court not to consider the supplemental disclosure, the DNA. I'm asking the court, don't look at the DNA. I'm asking you, don't really base this off of disclosure as evidence supporting the existence of probable cause. The reason for this request is that if the DNA test results are inadmissible at some point, such a ruling would not impact the findings of probable cause for this warrant. So as long as the court is satisfied as to the probable cause regardless of the DNA results. Yes, online hangover, he is innocent until proven guilty. And my lovely wife is here. Hello, Tanya. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so what does that mean? Your Honor, look at all this probable cause that I have. I have all this stuff that we talk about in the video that I talk about up here, where on the affidavit, right? The house, the surveillance cameras, the phone, this kind of stuff. However, Your Honor, we have this DNA. We're going to be forthcoming on this DNA result that we got. If you find that there's enough probable cause without that, please just do the probable cause regardless of that and not include that in your judgment for the warrant, just in case something goes by in the arrest warrant or something is is tainted or something is found to be inadmissible, we don't want that DNA there as part of that. So they don't want the search to be thrown out if something goes wrong. That's right. It's a very, very smart move. So that, and if you'll notice in the warrant, I think we may have covered it. I don't know. I could go back to it, but basically the judge says we're going to issue this warrant regardless of the DNA or the supplemental regarding the DNA. So they issued the warrant and didn't even take that into consideration because they felt that they had enough. All right, here we go. So Don Daniels, that's who was Washington State University. That was who wrote that, and then it was issued. All right, then here's the other signed command. All right, here we go. Now let's talk about what they seized from the residence on 1/17. Well, 12/29, but they unsealed it on 1/17. So let's talk about what they found. They found 1 nitrate black glove. Now you're asking, John, what is a nitrate black glove? Well, let me give you an example of a nitrate black glove. See how that's stretchable and how thick that glove is? It is more than a latex glove that usually breaks. These are more industrial, more resistant to punctures, not puncture proof, but more resistant. They're more heavy duty kind of gloves. I'll give you another picture here what the nitrate gloves looks like. We don't know what the glove looked like, obviously. They just describe it. 1 nitrate type black gloves. This is another type of black glove. Welcome, Madeline and Gina Marie. Appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. It could be nitrile, Alicia, but there's a nitrite glove as well. It's a little bit different, but there's a couple different names for them for sure. And these are just more heavy industrial type gloves. All right. So they find those gloves. All right. What else they find? A Walmart receipt with 1 Dickies tag. One Walmart receipt with a Dickies tag. All right. Do we know what's on the receipt? We do not know what's on the receipt. Only they know what is on the receipt and what he bought. 2 Marshalls receipts. And I know my wife is listening. She loves Marshalls. Marshalls has a lot of stuff. Is there receipts for black pants, black clothing, black stocking cap, black mask, black shoes, anything that would identify him as wearing something black that the victim may have identified, right? She said he was all dressed in black, even though it was dark, but we don't know what kind of ambient light was in there, whether it was kitchen lights on and so on and so forth. So let me keep going. A dust container from Bissell Power Force Vacuum. John, what is a Bissell Power Force Vacuum? What is a dust container? A dust container is something like this. That's a dust container. So why are they going to collect that? Well, if he vacuumed or swept, hang on, let me get back to Heinemann. Yes, Walmart sells online black Van shoes. Great. Okay. Didn't know that. I didn't know they did that. Gloria, I don't know. They found a glove at the house, but there's been no police reports that those are tied together. So that's just assumption at this point. They only found 1 glove at the house. There was a glove at the scene, but that was found kind of out in the yard, but we don't know if those two are matching or not, if they're the same manufacturer when they do the textile tests at the lab, if those are the same. So we don't know for sure. But this is a dust container from Bissell, right? This is the Power Force, I think is what they called it. Yep, Power Force. So if this guy has, Melissa says, I love Bissell. Yeah, okay. It's great. So it's obviously a great vacuum. What it's going to do, it's going to collect any kind of fibers, hair, anywhere he vacuumed on the floor. It may pick up some trace evidence as well. So anything that he's done to vacuum, they don't know when and if he vacuumed, but collect it nonetheless, especially if there's a bunch of stuff in there. And that'll be an arduous process later on at the lab to try to go through and find anything that may or may not use. Will they go back to the department and look for more evidence? We don't know, Catherine. If they feel that they may need to because they're developing something else, they could always write another search warrant for that place, and if the judge will grant it, they'll go back. Okay. Marlon says the glove found outside was a knit glove. Okay. Once again, we have no indication, no facts, which is what my channel is based on, is facts that these gloves are one and the same. It's not an OJ case. If the glove doesn't fit, must have quit. So we just don't know. It could be. Don't know. But if it's fabric and that's what the reports were, then this is not going to match. All right. So, Emily, I strongly feel BCK had a lot of evidence in his luggage during that car ride to PA. He possibly took stuff with him to dispose. Could have, for sure. I could, for sure, if he did that long trip. Susan says, I agree, take the entire vacuum. Yeah, who knows what they took. But yeah, I agree that they should have taken all that kind of stuff. Okay, I know you are new to doing live streams. You do a great job always. I appreciate that, Julie. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, I try. All right, so let's go back to the warrant. 8 possible hair strands. Now, here's the thing with the hair strands is that when a lot of times they'll break out these searches in areas. Detective, you take this room, you take this room. And if it's an apartment, it's probably only a couple bedrooms, if that, or a 1-bedroom apartment. You take the living room, you take the kitchen. So if somebody's in the bedroom, let's say, and they find 8 hairs, those may be packaged up and given to the evidence custodial, who is now going to log that kind of stuff on their return of service. So it could be 8 strands of hair found in one room. That'll be detailed more in the report because this is just a return of affidavit. But on the actual evidence sheet where you log it down, you put in there, item 16. What's the item description? 1 hair, location found, nightstand, right corner, photographed and removed. That'll all be on the evidence form is how we used to document those. But on here, it's just going to be more generic on what they found. Okay. So 8 possible hair strands. 1 Fire TV stick with cord plug. John, what's a fire stick, you ask? That's not a fire stick, John. Why are you showing me that again? Let's go to the fire stick. I don't know if anybody has those. I used to have one. It never really fit in my HDMI port, but you can save movies to them. You can save all sorts of stuff to them because it stores a lot of information. If you have a lot of these apps, and I don't even know if you can do a WhatsApp on a Fire Stick because I know on Apple TV you can download all sorts of apps on that and store your movies and stuff. But it could be that they just it's a storage device and they want to seize all storage devices. So they'll get somebody in there to look and see what he's been searching for on there, because you can have YouTube, obviously on this one, Prime Video, Disney, Netflix, Hulu, so on and so forth. So they'll grab whatever. Who donated a super chat? Jason, where are you at, Jason? Jason, my man, Jason Padula, super chat, $4.99, super informative. Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being here. And we got a new subscriber. Welcome, Lisa, whoever you are, just subscribed. Great. All right. What does LJD say? My dad got me one, and I don't really like it. I didn't like it either, but I don't know. Vet Girl says he could store on it through the server, I believe. Okay. A lot of information. I don't know much about the Fire Sticks. I'll be honest with you. I don't have one, so I don't have the knowledge to really talk about them, but I just know that that's what they seized. Okay. All right, let's go back to the return here. 1 possible animal hair strand. Okay, we know there was a dog in the apartment that was upstairs on the 3rd floor. At least that's where the dog was located. Okay, we have Fire Stick that has a web browser. Perfect, I love that. Stardust, I could barely use the remote. I feel you. Okay. All right, so the dog, we know that there was a dog upstairs in Kaylee's bedroom because Kaylee was in the process of moving out or had already moved out and just came back to see Maddie to show her new car. That's where the dog was found. Now, obviously, anybody that has a pet knows that hair is like static electricity. You just walk by your dog or your cat and that stuff sticks on you because that's just what they do. So if he had some kind of dog hair went home after that, sat on the bed, laid on the bed, and there was a transfer, right? We talked about Loca's law. There's a transfer law that basically says you go into a scene, you leave the scene, you're going to deposit and pick up something. That's just how things are. So Murphy, that's right, poor Murphy. Murphy is the dog that is apparently doing well, is what I hear. So if that is Murphy's hair on him in Kohberger's apartment, that does not look good for him. All right. What else we got? We have another one possible hair strand. Like I said, why these are listed out differently is because they could have been recovered in different areas or different rooms and just packaged by one person and handed over. And that evidence custodian that was doing the return on the warrant just listed it out one by one. Okay. So let's keep going. One collection of dark red spot collected without testing. All right. So dark red spot on something that was collected. They didn't want to do a phenolphthalein test where you're starting to use chemicals and taking a swab and scrubbing it and putting more chemicals and getting a reaction to turn a different color, because now you're just going right at top of the evidence. So at this point in the game, it's not worth doing some kind of field test on a search warrant. Just take that and send it to the lab. If it's a dark red spot, it's probably suspected blood. They're going to ask for that to be tested for blood. All right. Let's keep going. We have 2 cuttings from uncased pillow of reddish brown stain, larger stain tested. All right. So on this one, they had enough area to test, probably a corner of it to field test. And I don't think they gave the results anywhere in this, but 2 cuttings from an uncased pillow. So they're looking for, they think that's blood. Now, how that blood got there, we don't know. It could be Bryan's blood because he was cut, and so that's his blood on the pillow or on the pillowcase or uncased pillow, or it could be blood from the victim. We don't know. That will all happen in the lab. No one knows any different other than the investigators, and they don't even know yet, right? Only the lab techs that are processing this know. Okay. So what else do we have? We have 2 top and bottom of mattress cover packaged separately, both labeled C, multiple stains, 1 tested. John, what does a master mattress cover look like? Everybody should know this, but it's a mattress cover. Top and bottom, you zip it and it holds down the mattress, and that's what they see is 2 top and bottom. So I don't know if it's 2 tops, 2 bottoms, or they just said 2 top and bottom mattress covers. I don't know, but they seize that and they package those separately, which is what you're supposed to do. You package everything separately, especially if there's blood involved. You need to package those separately. Those have to be dried. They'll take them back to the evidence room. When we had stuff that had a lot of blood, we used to hang them and mark them and protect them until they actually dried, and then you put them in a paper bag and seal them that way. All right. Those are just some procedural things. All right. So that is what they seized from the house. Whether they go back or not, we don't know. What the results of those tests are, we do not know. So let's see if we can get some more questions answered. All right. Aaron, could the mattress cover also mean sheets? I don't know, Aaron. I would think they would mark sheets on there. I really do. I really would think they would mark sheets on there, but I don't know why they would do that. So let me try to, sorry guys, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that I can read the comments. Johnny, a list of recovered items seems short. Do you think there will be a longer list from the searches of the Elantre and his parents' home? Emily, I was surprised at the amount of evidence that was seized out of there. I'll be quite frank with you. I was kind of surprised. They were there, I think, the allegedly 12 hours. I would have thought there would be 50 items of evidence. I would have thought. All sorts of clothes, that could have had a transfer or spatter on them or any kind of transfer stains, anything that has to do with blood or DNA that could have been on amount of clothes. So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't seize any clothing. They didn't seize any shoes, but I don't know. Obviously, because of the shoes, they didn't have a shoe that matched the pattern that they had the latent print exam, right? Because I'm sure they had a picture of that and knew what it looked like. So why seize a bunch of shoes if it doesn't match that pattern? Unless that shoe doesn't, is not found there, and maybe it's going to be at somebody else's residence or found alongside the road. We don't really know. It's all conjecture at this point. But obviously, they didn't find the shoe that they thought they wanted to find, right? So another question: when the suspect returned to the party house at 9:12 a.m., why didn't he re-enter the house to retrieve the missing sheath? Farrell, only he knows that. Nobody else knows that. Maybe he wasn't going back for that. He just wanted to see the press out there and the fire trucks out there and so on and so forth. And, thinking to himself that he's going to re-enter the scene when he got away clean would be a little, and in broad daylight, be a little sketchy. So who knows what he was thinking while he went back there. Only he's going to know when asked. I'd love to sit down and ask him, quite frankly. Halifax, welcome, Halifax. Okay, so let's get to some more. Let's go to some more questions, shall we? While we're here, comment section. Nosebleed on the pillow. He had a busted nose. Yeah, he could have done that. Yep. He had 3 weeks. Yeah, that's right. He had 3 weeks roughly before he left PA. So, yeah, that's he had a lot of time to do a lot of things. I think this is the guy, and if so, hope the difference in the car apartment will further. Yeah. I don't know about the car right now. What the deal is with the car and how much they've recovered from that or the return of service on that affidavit either. So unless somebody's seen that or heard about that, I haven't seen that. But hopefully they find something in that car that will help in their investigation. Catherine, I think what we're talking about here, release information, all that was seized. Yeah. Catherine, if you're just getting here, this is the information that they seized on the actual warrant. So if you want to watch it on the replay, but basically receipts and gloves and some hair, some electronics, those kind of things is what they got from the scene. All right. Let's see. It concerns me that they didn't look for latent footwear impressions in his apartment. Long shot, but they get provided linkage. Amber, we don't know that they didn't do that. Quite frankly, we don't know. They could have used some type of amino black in there as well if they maybe saw something, or luminol looking for blood. They could have looked for all sorts of stuff that they didn't. That's not something they would seize, right? That they talked to a judge about. But as far as their reports are concerned, they could definitely put that in a report on what they did to process the scene. That'll all be detailed in those reports. Let's see. PA have to release any warrant to search the vehicle, or would that be Idaho feds? Let's see. Would Pennsylvania have to release any warrant? So, Jason, I think I understand your question. So what they're going to do is they're going to give, just like was done from Idaho to Washington as far as the probable cause, they're going to give that same to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania will then write a search warrant because that car is in their state. They will write a search warrant into that car to look for evidence of everything that Idaho was talking about and everything that Pullman was kind of talking about in more of a compact deal. So then they will do the return of service for that, and then they will give all that information over to Idaho. Parents' PA house also had a search warrant. Okay, that's great, because usually on an arrest warrant, at least when I was working the street, we would write a search warrant to go arrest the person on the arrest warrant, because you're talking about entering, especially if you didn't know the person was in there, right? If you see the guy through the window and he tries to bolt and diddy mow out the back door, now you have exigent circumstances and you have a fleeing felon. You can do some different things. But if you're just going to search a place for somebody, usually you have to have a search warrant to go with that. So K in Maine, if they did that, that's good protocol, because they're covered later on. Kitty, Lily, coveralls, medical cover shoes, change clothes before going outside. Unknown. We don't know. Only he knows. Oh, yeah. If Murphy cracks his case, you got to love Murph. You got to love Murph if that's the case. All right. Might take a judge's ruling appeal about what was seized there. No, these jurisdictions, they cooperate with each other. They have no reason to withhold any information. They're assisting in the investigation. So they'll do the return of service just like they did in WSU and say, here's the reports. Here's the case number. You want the reports? Here you go. This is what we found. And they'll probably hold the car as well or have the car towed back to Idaho. At least I would, as far as evidence is concerned. AG, I would love to know. Let me go back to the screen, guys. That one's not going up too well. Not sure why my comments aren't doing what I want them to do. I don't want to do that either. So let's bring this down here. I'd love to know what he threw away in the trash when he was at his parents' house, and the FBI said he threw the trash out of the neighbor's trash bin at 4 a.m. AG, I'd like to know what he threw away too. And if they saw that, hopefully they grabbed some of that. But it seemed, the alleged reports that he was cleaning his car, which not very good at 4 a.m. Lena, welcome. Welcome. When do you think they'll release a search warrant for the parents' house? Good question. I don't really know when they're going to do that. Hopefully soon. Marissa. Did they not release forensic results of the house? So no, they haven't released the results of anything yet. Through the fake crime scene. Did you watch the FBI? Shark, I don't know what that is, and I didn't see FBI track any mud, but if they did, that's not good. Marlon Brando, I know where you're getting that from. Saw a page on WSU's website early on, had a picture of Bryan, stated he was taking a year off to immerse himself in field work. Maybe he took most of his stuff. Marlon, that's definitely possible, right? Catherine, did they release the information what was seized? Maybe there was more. They released the information on the warrant to the judge, so that was what they seized. Let's see, another question from Violet. The dummy could have been wearing those shoes when he was arrested. Oh, could he have been wearing? Could have been wearing those. I don't know. Vet girl, did you just donate to me? I heard something. I'm kind of late on the comments here at the bottom. Super chat. Oh, Vet girl, I so much appreciate you. Thank you so much. Is your opinion, what is the most damaging piece of evidence you have seen so far? Wow, that's a big question, Vet girl. I think the most damning piece for me is the knife sheath by Maddie that had his DNA on it. That being left next to her, that is the most damaging in my opinion, because they've obviously have his DNA now from the jailer blood, so on and so forth. So I think that's going to be the most damaging part of it for me. But thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. Can you comment on the FBI's responsibility of scripting and organizing fake simulated crime scenes in order to train local law enforcement authorities in crisis response? I don't know, Shark. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because the FBI is they're not responsible for that at all. There's several private companies out there that train law enforcement on all sorts of things: blood spatter analysis, crime scene reconstruction, so on and so forth. So the FBI is not responsible for any of that. But most law enforcement agencies, after the academy, you'll go to some more specialized training, and that's how you get trained on more of this stuff. Let's see, Amber. Why would the collect cuttings from the stained pillow and not collect the entire pillow? I don't know. I would collect the entire pillow, but I don't know what their reason for that would be, to not do that. So that's something they felt they didn't need to do. So, and it's totally subjective when it comes to processing a crime scene and seizing what you think is relevant, and it's all on the investigators at that point. Gloria, my humble opinion is the knife sheath left at the crime scene with the killer's DNA on the buckle. It's the knife sheath. Okay. I think, Gloria, you're commenting about what was the biggest takeaway or the biggest thing that Vet Girl was talking about. I agree. That's one of the daggers there. In bar, what do you think of the Papa Roger online character? I don't know what that is. In bar, maybe you'll have to let me know or send me a link or something. I don't know what that is. Let's see. How long does GPS info stay in his car? Does it get written over? Well, Judy, it depends, because that year, make, and model of vehicle, just from the dash picture that I saw from the body cam of the officer, and it looked like it didn't even have what we would commonly see as a big deck, with the touch screens and CarPlay. It was a pretty thin screen, so it was probably stock that's in there. And the only kind of GPS data you're probably going to get out of that is if you have satellite radio and you have a couple different subscription services that actually send and receive signals to your car. But outside of that, if it's a standard deck, you're not going to have anything out of that. Is there any videos or hearsay removing the bodies? I haven't seen any, Kay. I haven't seen any of that at all. Vet Girl, I appreciate you being here. You are kind myself. You're very kind. Let's see. Could they have found additional evidence they're not telling us about? Not likely. Not likely, because they're not going to give a return on a search warrant to the judge to say, we only found this stuff and we didn't find anything else, because this is all discoverable for the defense on the search warrants. So not likely. Let's see. Keep going here. Sorry, guys. We're trying to catch up. We will see. We always wrote everything that we seized out of apartment on our return to service. Yep. Always. Oh, we only got 18 more for 300 likes. We got 303. Look at you guys. You guys are wonderful hitting that like button and the share button. I appreciate that. It just shows YouTube that I'm not out there just on a dead feed, not doing anything. So I appreciate that. I believe the father knew something was up. Why would they drive all the way to Washington from Washington in the winter? Only they know. I mean, it's, what was it, right after Christmas time area, something like that, to spend time with family. So, I don't know. Lou, appreciate you being here, really. Melissa, yeah, I could, thanks for the likes, guys. I appreciate that. I'm sure they would take the whole apartment, but evidence facilities get pretty full, and you have a smaller police department. I mean, some evidence lockers are 20 by 20, 20 by 30. So they get pretty full, especially when you're seizing a lot of stuff. So you have to be really picky on what you seize. And that's the part of your training and experience on what to seize and what isn't going to be valuable later on. Okay, let's keep going. What is the forensics team doing now? They're still probably processing evidence, Aaron. I would assume, for sure. Boz Maka, do you think we'll ever get body cam footage of the August 21st interaction with Moscow police and BK? Baka or Boz, are you meaning the traffic stop where he got the citation for like no seatbelt? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know. If that is, I wouldn't see why they wouldn't release that at this point. Judy, you're so welcome. Rumor has it, okay, Kimber's, rumor has it Bryan was a Papa Rogers posting about murders. So I'm assuming Popa or Papa Roger is a guy's name. Is that a famous guy's name? I've never heard of that, so I'm a little behind on that. I apologize. Melissa, another Papa Roger. Don't know what that means, guys. I am so sorry. I can't talk about that. Annie, I appreciate that. Super chat, $10. Thank you so much. Is there a gag order at his jail because we don't hear anything at all about what he is doing or how he is acting? And it's funny that you mentioned that because I think I saw something today that there was an order put out by a judge. It may have been Lateham County. Basically a gag order on anybody that's involved in this investigation. I mean, anybody. Police, DAs, prosecutors, coroner, medical examiner, witnesses, jail staff, deputies, anybody is not allowed to make a statement in oral or written form. I believe that came out today. I'll probably talk about that on my Instagram. If you haven't hit me up on Instagram, it's JohnnyLaw50 on Instagram. And I will probably do that on a story later or a reel, something like that. But I think I did see something about it. I just probably won't do it. Or I might do it on a YouTube short here as well. But if you're not following me on JohnnyLaw50, FIVEO on Twitter and Instagram, follow me over there. Hang out. We'll hang out over there as well. And I so much appreciate the super chat, and I hope I answered your question about that. So it was a very good question, and it was very timely, as a matter of fact. All right, let's keep going. Let's see, Holly Solo. Any thoughts on the 3 different types of wounds described in the initial affidavit? Cam described them as stabs, X and E with edged weapons. You know, it's, listen, they are described, you know, there's different wound patterns, obviously, you know, because stab wounds are different than other slash wounds, obviously, for a very good reason. So how the medical examiner puts those on the autopsy will be the most important part on how those are described. So as people take that out of context and talk about them on the news and talk about them in articles, the autopsy report is how those are really described. And so we'll have to wait for that to know exactly that fact and not an assumption on what those were. So, but it's a good question, Holly. Appreciate you asking that. All right. Why no clothes? Yeah, Vet Girl, I don't know why no clothes. Like I said, what were there? 12, 13, 14, 15, 17 pieces of evidence removed out of here. I would have expected some clothes, but apparently not. I don't know why. I don't know. Because, you know, what they're doing is relying on the witness statement that they're looking for black clothes, but maybe they have some information that we don't know. And that's totally possible on what they're looking for. Darn, that's great. Hey, I can't tell, guys, on my software here how many people are live right now. Can somebody throw that in the chat so that I know? I'm just curious. Thanks for the likes. 386 likes. You guys are great. Okay. We're going to keep going. Question, have they identified the footprint or what type of shoe were for that footprint? So, Stardust, they apparently said the pattern matches that of a Vans shoe, is my understanding. That's what they matched it up to. So I could be wrong, but I believe that's what it was. It was a Vans shoe. Okay, Marissa, stricter gag order. Okay. Now, I thought I saw something earlier today or earlier tonight. I think maybe it's like half hour before I got on this live stream that I saw something come out on Twitter about it. But yeah, that would not surprise me. And they do that, guys. They do that because and a lot of it is because of the defense, because they want Bryan Kohberger to have a fair trial and not be biased because he's innocent until proven guilty, and they just want now that stuff is all out there, they just want this more confined and not have any new stuff come out. And that's probably a defense ploy, which is probably fine. If you're Bryan Kohberger and his attorney, you don't want this stuff out here. So he is innocent until proven guilty, for sure. I keep going here, guys. Sweetie Nugs, I don't know what the size of the footprint was. I didn't, until we see a picture with a ruler, with a rule in it to know if it was a 9 or 10. I don't know. I haven't seen that anywhere. Emily, now that they've released the warrant, do you think the initial 911 call would have had something? I mean, if they needed it as far as their probable cause for the warrant, it was that important, they probably would have put it in there. But I don't think it had any evidentiary value, or they would have put it in there, or not thought that it was needed in the warrant because they had so much other stuff. I don't worry about that, Anne. Tanya says. Laura, how did they get in? Door unlocked. I don't know, Laura. I didn't remember seeing any footage of them going and executing the warrant, but more than likely, how we used to execute warrants in apartment complexes, we would just go to the management and say, we have a warrant to search this apartment. I need a key, and I need you to unlock. Either give me the key, because we really didn't want to put them in harm if it was a high risk warrant, but they would just give us the key. We'd walk up, knock and announce based on whatever the search warrant said, and then lock the door and go in. So that's how they probably did that. But a good question. Oh, well, man, you guys are cranking in the comments. I should just his latest comment. Do you think he had help? Like when he asked for someone who had been arrested when he first got arrested. Melissa, that's the question of the hour. I don't know if they have any evidence of that, of another person. When they started to do this warrant that was pretty secretive and not being released because of safety concerns, so on and so forth, that had me kind of going, wow, do they have more evidence that they're not leading on that there was possibly somebody that was involved? But that was just on my part because it was so secretive, and I hadn't seen one of those ever to be sealed that much. So, yeah, Jason, I'm going to need some mods here soon. I've had a couple of people reach out. I don't know much about mods and what they do. Lou, I appreciate that, but I probably will get some moderators on here. And I don't know what they do. I mean, they must help me throw comments on the screen and weed some stuff out and answer a question. But I probably will do that in the future. Did anybody tell me how many we had on the live stream tonight? I guess I can figure it out later, but I don't know how many of y'all are here, but I appreciate everybody taking their time. I know everybody's got busy lives, and you're hanging out with Johnny here tonight on a whatever the hell today is. What is it, a Friday? I don't even know. Thursday. Okay. So I appreciate you. Oh, Angela. Whoop. Super chat. I got to get down to the bottom. Thank you so much for the super chat, Angelique Jovan. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I have a new little thing that pops up to tell me when that happens because I don't have a moderator like you guys are saying, and so I tend to miss people, and I don't like to miss anybody. Oh, 854, 860, 861. Okay, thank you so much. 861. Judy, 861. All right, we have 861 people here. Love it. I heard you say I saw this thing, save yourself, and I went, oh, what did I do? Heather, you're the #1 YouTuber. I trust this, Johnny Law. Cheers from Nova Scotia. Wow, Nova Scotian. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Oh, Kimber's okay. You get rid of a lot of troublemakers. I appreciate that. But you know what? You guys have been so great that I haven't really had any troublemakers in here. I don't know why that is, but I guess I'm lucky so far. All right, guys. Well, that's all really I had for you. I know you guys have busy lives. I don't want to take up too much of your time by rambling on. You have more questions, please leave them in the comments section. I will try to answer them, as you know, the best I can. 869, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I really appreciate all you guys being here and hanging out with me on a Thursday night. And I hope I was able to answer some questions. And I will see you in the next time I do a video or that I'm live. I appreciate you. Take care.